This is Mrs. Naslund, and today we'll be doing Unit 7, Lesson 9, Multiply and Divide by the Powers of 10. Our learning targets for today are, I can understand and generalize a pattern of products and quotients when multiplying and dividing by the powers of 10. So today's a really fun lesson because we get a look at multiplying and dividing by the powers of 10, and there's some really cool patterns that are, once you see them, are pretty easy to figure out. It can help you multiply some really big numbers or divide some really big numbers just because they have the power of 10. And when I say the power of 10, what I mean is that they end in zeros, like this. So when you multiply by 10 of any sort, or 100 or 1,000, anything that ends in multiple zeros or ends in a zero, you always take the first value and you multiply them. So in this case, I'm going to go 8 times 1, which gives me my 8. And then I add the number of zeros that there are. Now, if there's zeros on either side, you get to add them on, and you'll see that as we practice here in a few minutes. But in this case, there's just zeros on one side. So I do 8 times 1 is 8, and then I add on that 1 0 right there, and I end up with 80. All right? Then we go on to 8 times 100. Again, I do 8 times 1. I count my zeros. In this case, there's 1, 2 zeros. So I end up with 8 and 2 zeros, which is 800. All right. Now with 1,000, same exact thing. I do 8 times 1. I count my zeros, 1, 2, 3, and add those 3 zeros on. So I have 8 and 3 zeros, which gives me 8,000. Okay. And this pattern continues to work. Let's do one more together, and then I'll have you practice on your own. So this time it's a double-digit number, but let's try it. 14 times 1 is 14, and then I add the 0, so I have a 140, which gives me 140. All right, again, I do 14 times 1, add 2 zeros, so I have a 1400, which will give me 1,400. And you'll notice that we're just adding on zeros here as these numbers grow. So 14 times 1 is 14, I add on my 3 zeros, and I end up with 14,000. All right, I want you to go ahead and pause the video, and I want you to try these next 3 on your own. All right, let's see how you did. 3 times 10 would be 30. 3 times 100, again, it's 3 times 1 is 3, plus the 2 zeros, 300. And then 3 times 1 is 3, plus the 3 zeros is 3,000. All right, great. All right, try one more on your own. 25 times 10. Go and pause the video. All right, you would end up with 250. 25 times 100. 25 times 1 is 25. Add those 2 zeros, I get 2,500. And 25 times 1,000 would be 25,000. Now, we have a similar thing when we look at dividing by tens, hundreds, and thousands. So let's see if we can figure out that pattern. Now, the trick for this one is that you take your first digit again in your power of tens, and you divide it into the number, the actual number, not the zeros. So I'm going to say 36 divided by 1, which is 36, right? And then I actually get to cross off my zeros. So sometimes people like to do this. Sometimes people like to say, okay, I'm just going to cross my zeros first. If I have 2 zeros, I get to cross 1 here and 1 here. 36 divided by 1 equals, and you know what it equals? 36. Okay. How about this one? In this case, I have 1 0 here. So if I cross 1 here, I can cross 1 here. And I have 1 here. So again, I have 36 divided by 1, and guess what it equals? Same as before, 36. Okay. Try this one. 36,000 divided by 1,000. Seems big, but again, if I have 3 zeros here, I can cross off 3 zeros here. 36 divided by 1 again equals, you said it, 36. All right, let's do one more. I cross off my zeros again. I'm going to cross off that one and that one. 5 divided by 1 equals 5. 500 divided by 100. Cross off my zeros. Got 2 and 2. 5 divided by 1 equals 5. How about this one? 5,000 divided by 1,000. Cross these out, and I end up with 5 divided by 1 again, which equals 5. All right, so why don't you go ahead and pause the video and try number 8 on your own, and let's see how you do. All right, 20 divided by 10, you should end up with 2. 200 divided by 100, again, just cross off your zeros. You end up with 2 divided by 1, you're going to get 2. And then 2,000 divided by 1,000, you're going to get 2 again. Awesome. All right, so now that you got it, you'll see that when you have a mixed bag of practice, you just have to remember the difference between multiplying and dividing. So let's just review again, and we'll do a couple of these together. If I have a multiplying, I just go ahead and I multiply and then add on the zero. So I'm going to take my 1 and multiply it by 12. 12 times 1 is 12. And then I get to add on my 0. So I have 1, 2, 0, 120. When I divide, I just cross off my extra zeros. So I can cross those off, cross those off. 7 divided by 1 equals 7. All right. Oops, I got 2 at once. So that's exciting. That's okay. 900 times 100. All right, so this is where we have the 2 0 trick. We didn't get to talk about this much above, so let's talk about this one. Again, I'm going to take the 9 times the 1, and then I have to add on all of these zeros. And how many zeros do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to have 9 times 1, which is 9, and then I have to add on 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then remember to know where to put the comma. We always count over 3 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, comma. All right, let's try this one. 18,000 times 1,000. So again, you're going to do 18 times 1, which is 18, and then I'm going to count my zeros. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to have 18 followed by 6 zeros. Well, that's a big one. Oops. Oh, never mind, that was a dividing one. Oh, I screwed that one up. That's okay, let's do it. So if it's dividing, I get to go ahead and cross these out. Cross these out. 18 divided by 1 is 18. All right, good. Sorry for that. All right, let's keep going. Let's go ahead and try this one. This one is multiplying. So again, I'm going to do my 7 times my 1, which is 7, and I count my zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 7 followed by 5 zeros, which ends up looking like this. 7 followed by 5 zeros, and again I count over my 3. 1, 2, 3, comma, 1, 2, 3. So I end up with 700,000. Good. So you get to practice that on your homework and remembering today. The other thing that we're just going to review, and we've done these before, so we did this at the very beginning of the year when we did the fluency chapters, but it's good to know the patterns for solving 11s and 12s. So I'm going to go ahead and show you these. 1 times 11 is 11. 2 times 11 is 22. And remember, all we do with these is we get to double this number. So we got 3 times 11 is 33. 4 times 11 is 44. 5 times 11 is 55. 66, 77, 88. See, it's just doubling. 99, 110. We get 121 and 132. Okay. They get a little bit more tricky as we go past. But again, you can use the ones trick on, or the tens trick on this one. If I do 11 times 1, I get 11, and I add my 0 on, right? Same thing that we did earlier, so we get 110. And so you can see that that pattern is easy to figure out. Now 12s are a little bit more tricky. We've got 12, 24, 36, 48, 60, 72, 84, 96, 108, 120, 132, and 144. All right, now there aren't a ton of good tricks to remember the 12s, but there are a couple patterns that I can show you that might help you remember them. If you look here at the tens place, one thing that you'll notice is that it goes up by 1, except it skips 5 and 11. So, for example, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, skips 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, skips 11, 12, 13, 14. And then over here, in the ones place, it goes up by 2s through 8, and then starts over with 0. So you'll see 2, 4, 6, 8, 0. 2, 4, 6, 8, 0. 2, 4. All right, so you can kind of use that pattern to help you remember your 12s, but ultimately your 12s are ones that you're really going to have to work on memorizing. So today we talked about the powers of 10 and some of the tricks with multiplying and dividing by 10, and we also reviewed our 11s and 12s that we talked about earlier in the year during our fluency chapter. You can go ahead and get started on your homework and remembering. Great work.